Now, you got issues with the industry. What's going down with the industry, dog?
The industry is full of a bunch of sucking, dick riding, bending over the desk ass nigga, straight up like that. Whoever don't like it, bring it, nigga. Bring it. I don't give a fuck. Bring it. Bring it, bitch.
They got this new breed of rapper that's paying DJs to play their shit.
Right.
And, you know what I'm saying? They sucking the record label executive dicks, and it's like there's too much of that going on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Let me be me. Let me be the artist that I am and just play my motherfucking music. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Now they want you all up under this, you know, sitting at going to dinner with them and shit like that, and you know, all that favor for a favor shit. I don't get down like that. Look, I give you the music, you give my money. That's it.
A lot of the love I had for wanting to be a part of the industry is not there anymore. I don't even associate myself with the industry. You know what I'm saying? I'm not an industry artist. I'm an artist in the industry.
I get a little uncomfortable. I get uncomfortable. Like he said something to me one time, a long time ago. He told me to take me shopping. I looked at him like, what'd you just say? Let me move, man, before I do something. You're gonna make me mess up the wedding.
Oh, that's a nice gesture.
Let me get out of no, dude, take me. That's what a guy says to him.
Turns out, DMX had been sounding the alarm about Diddy for years, though most people didn't really listen. One person who did? 50 Cent. DMX never shied away from exposing how dark the music world really is. He said the industry's filled with people willing to do anything to get ahead, sell out, kiss up, bend over backwards, whatever it takes. And he wasn't just speaking for effect. DMX claimed he faced the devil right there in the business. That's how he knew God was real, because without evil, he wouldn't have had to fight so hard to stay strong. He made it clear, he wasn't just part of the industry, he was in it, but never belonged to it. That's why no one could control him. He refused to play by their rules.
And what did they do? They sold the company. They invited me into a house and they sold it. Yeah, I am mad. You know what I mean? You're right, I'm mad. I feel betrayed, man, but it. You know what I mean? It's a business and I'm gonna carry it like a business. But my music is still my fucking music. And you play on my music, you play on my life. You play on my life, nigga, you're gonna disappear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, things are definitely changing there, man.
Yeah, they got a whole new staff now, so I gotta go in and see what's up, you know what I'm saying?
The truth was darker than most of us ever imagined. Suddenly, all those wild claims DMX made don't sound so far-fetched. DMX even said he turned down deals with Diddy because something just didn't feel right. At one point, Diddy passed on, signing him, but when Def Jam stepped in with a major offer, Diddy suddenly wanted back in, trying to outbid them. But X wasn't convinced. He'd already heard the rumors about what was really going on behind the scenes at Bad Boy Records.
One thing I respect about him is that at least he told me to my face what he felt. He was like, his voice is too rough, he's not marketable. Maybe 3 weeks later when he found out I was getting signed for Def Jam, he was like, yo, I'll lace your pockets. I'll double what they gave you and lace your pockets. I'm like,
if you didn't know what I was then, you just pretty much jumped on the bandwagon now.
Because if you didn't see the beast that I was then, I'm like, nah, I'm cool.
So it's a legendary story.
Like I told you, we sat down with Diddy, but he knew he wasn't going to sign with Diddy. He knew Diddy wasn't going to sign him. He knew in his mind that Diddy wouldn't want to take on problems right now.
Yayo said that you were supposed to sign the Bad Boy.
Look, they knew I was talented. They just looked at it and was like, I don't want all of the stuff that comes with it. The M stumbled over it, but he didn't know the trouble that came with it. You see what I'm saying? So I was like, yo, nah, this is perfect.
Some people say when DMX accused Diddy of ripping off his artists, he just meant financially, like stealing from them. But with everything coming out now, folks are starting to wonder if he meant exactly what he said. DMX wasn't afraid to expose how ruthless the industry really is. He even said the business would unalive people because they made more money off them dead than alive. One thing that stuck with me was when DMX said he never saw Biggie smile until after he passed. He explained that you can always see joy in someone's smile or eyes, but with Biggie, that happiness never showed up until he was in his casket. In that same long-ago interview, DMX talked about how Diddy would rip off his artists and steal their publishing rights. He said he never saw Biggie truly smile until after he died and the video came out. He explained that a smile brings a whole new light to a person's face. It's hard to put into words. You don't just smile with your mouth, you smile with your eyes. A real smile shines through even if someone covers their mouth. Like, you can tell the truth behind it. Even though he bought the rights to some of those songs, they still got signed elsewhere. They were a safer group. Pop signed them, and it felt like a blessing and a curse. They were excited to get signed and chase the Benjamins, but then Diddy made them all flashy, put them in suits, had them write lyrics for him, and took all their publishing. Like, damn, that's cold. But this wasn't the only thing DMX spoke about. He also revealed how some people in the industry would invite you out to dinner or other outings just to get control of your music. And honestly, I can't imagine DMX wasn't talking about Diddy, especially since the first thing that came to mind was when 50 Cent said Diddy asked to take him shopping. DMX even talked about how some artists would sleep with music executives just to climb the ladder in the industry. Now that we know how Diddy operated and what he was doing with people's careers, it's almost certain DMX was talking about him. But DMX didn't stop at calling out Diddy. He also spoke about how some new rappers were willing to do whatever it took to get signed, even things that had nothing to do with music. There were rumors of artists doing favors for label execs just to get their songs played. Those same allegations followed Diddy, and looking back, it feels like he was grooming us all along. It was like signing boy bands and girl groups just because you liked one or two members, using the rest as a tax write-off. But really, the real focus wasn't the music. It was about chasing something else. Puffy was hunting for the butt, the bodies. Choppers, everybody's. The music didn't matter. It was all about control. And the whole thing blew up bigger than anyone expected. Puffy learned what R. Kelly knew. If you can separate these artists from their parents, isolate them, then once you get that leverage, they're trapped. What are they going to say? Especially when there's video proof. How can you even make another record after that? You feel me? DMX had a whole track called The Industry where he laid out just how fake and twisted it all was. He said, "It's not about talent anymore. It's about playing their game. They want to control how you dress, talk, and act. If you don't fall in line, you're done." But DMX refused to play along. He said, "I'm not an industry artist. I'm an artist in the industry." Now, here we are in 2025, and what he said back then is looking more real than ever. He warned us about artists selling their souls, the vultures circling, and yeah, he warned us about Diddy. And trust me, he wasn't the only one. You know it's true. I've been to Diddy's parties, places where people like me step in to escort someone out because nobody's stopping me when I show up. So why would anyone talk about what happens there? Who do you even turn to? What HR department actually works for these labels? Honestly, when have you ever heard of a sexual harassment case in the entertainment world being publicly addressed? Never. Not in this industry. Remember Tupac? He was the only one who spoke up. And look how that ended. Guilty. That's exactly why they do it. To make an example out of you. To remind everyone what they're willing to do to keep control. It's all about intimidation. You can't trust the authorities. They're all bought and paid for. Even if you push for a special prosecutor, they'll just get reassigned or shut down quietly. Instead of listening to DMX, people mocked him, calling him crazy, addicted, and washed up. The media tore him apart relentlessly. When he passed in 2021, they still labeled him as troubled instead of honoring his legacy. Sure, DMX had his struggles, drugs, legal issues, but he was never accused of hurting women or children. Unlike some powerful figures in the industry, who kept climbing the ladder and getting richer. The real problem? There's a good chance Diddy might just walk away clean.
And David Gelman, former prosecutor and a criminal defense attorney. David, welcome.
Hey, Mike, good to be here.
So in week 2 of testimony, jurors heard from a dozen witnesses as prosecutors try to prove sex trafficking and racketeering. What are your expectations when court resumes tomorrow?
It's going to be really interesting tomorrow when Diddy's third or fourth assistant takes a stand, and she's going to actually corroborate Kid Cudi's testimony from last week, where he said that Diddy and another associate of his bombed his Porsche years ago at his house. Now, you have to have corroboration about that because nobody can put Diddy there. And in fact, nobody even can say Diddy's the actual one who did it. But if they can say that Diddy or an associate of his did it, then you may have a racketeering charge there. Because right now, as it stands, Mike, nothing, and I mean nothing, is sticking to Diddy.
Diddy's lawyers are trying to make the case that his escapades do not amount to federal crimes. How difficult is that argument?
I think they're doing a fantastic job, honestly. Look, everybody has said, and Diddy's lawyers even said it in their opening statement, Diddy is not a good guy. There's a lot of domestic violence that occurred between him and Cassie in their relationship. However, what we've heard so far from the testimony of Cassie and the other individuals does not amount to the federal charges that he's being charged with right now. I'm not going to say anything that we heard is very good because it's all horrific. However, the state or the government in this particular instance needs to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he conspired to racketeer, to sex traffic, and to promote prostitution. So far, they're falling way behind in this. And I know there's a lot more to go in this trial because they're saying it's going to be about 8 weeks. But the government really better step on the gas because they don't have a lot more time to go.
So the play seems to be maybe admit to a state crime that avoids prison time. Is that it?
Yeah, I think so. Look, again, you're hearing about all this domestic violence, but all that has nothing to do with what Diddy is charged with. There's a possibility, and I'm saying a very strong possibility right now, that Diddy could walk, that he could be spending 4th of July at home having a barbecue.
Rapper 50 Cent is gearing up to reach out to President Donald Trump, aiming to stop him from pardoning Diddy. This move could shake things up big time for Diddy. During a Friday press conference in the Oval Office with Elon Musk, Trump surprised everyone by saying he'd consider pardoning Diddy if he's found guilty in his federal racketeering trial. 50 Cent didn't waste a second to respond. On Instagram, he made it clear he won't stand for Trump giving Diddy a free pass. Some really bad things about Trump. It's not okay. I'm reaching out so he knows exactly how I feel about this. Guy, the rapper wrote. Then he followed up with, Donald doesn't take disrespect lightly, and he never forgets who goes against him. Earlier this week, Diddy's former assistant, Capricorn Clark, shared some wild details in court. She testified that after an MTV event, Diddy complained to his manager, Chris Lighty, saying, I don't like all the back and forth. I like guns, while they were in an elevator. That comment quickly caught attention, especially from 50 Cent, who famously survived being shot 9 times in 2000 and didn't hold back mocking Diddy's remark on Instagram. But Capricorn Clark's testimony didn't stop there. In the ongoing federal sex trafficking trial against Sean Diddy Combs, she revealed that the music mogul had not only intimidated her, but also threatened her during her time working for him. The courtroom was left stunned by her explosive account. Combs has pleaded not guilty to every charge against him. NBC News entertainment reporter Chloe Mass is reporting live outside the New York courthouse. Chloe, what did Clark reveal on the stand today? It was a powerful moment. Clark got emotional and even apologized to the judge for tearing up so much. She's a woman who worked closely with Combs, starting as his personal assistant and holding various roles over 14 years. One striking story she shared happened in December 2011. She described how Combs exploded with anger when he discovered that Cassie had been cheating on him with musician Kid Cudi, whose real name is Scott Muscati. Fun fact, Kid Cudi actually testified in court just last week. Now we're getting a fuller picture of what happened in December 2011, according to Clark's testimony. She says that Combs found out about Cassie and Kid Cudi's relationship, and then allegedly broke into Kid Cudi's house. Clark claims that Combs showed up at her apartment early one morning with a gun, kidnapped her, and forced her to go, along to break into Kid Cudi's home. Clark says she stayed in the car and called Cassie to warn her about what was happening. Later that same morning, she went back to Combs' house after he made her go get Cassie and bring her to him. Clark says she witnessed Combs violently assault Cassie, beating her so badly that Cassie fell to the ground in a fetal position. Combs reportedly continued the attack, dragging her from the mansion's front threshold all the way to the street. She says she was so worried for Cassie's life that she actually called Cassie's mother, Regina Ventura, and told her to call 911. But this part is a little different from what we heard from Kid Cudi on the stand. Also, when Regina Ventura testified, we didn't hear about that call from Capricorn Clark. So it's really interesting sitting in the courtroom, hearing little bits and pieces of these alleged events. It's going to be fascinating to see what the jury thinks in a few weeks. Also, it looks like the prosecution might be moving ahead of schedule and may have only about 4 weeks left before the defense takes over. And Chloe, who else are we expecting to see on the stand this week? So today, we're expecting to hear from some of the individuals who got to the scene of Kid Cudi's car explosion a few weeks after that alleged kidnapping. Remember, Kid Cudi said last week on the stand that Colmes was so angry about his relationship with Cassie going on behind his back that he was behind the Molotov cocktail attack on his Porsche convertible. We even saw pictures of the damage to his Porsche last week. So, we're expecting testimony from some of the firefighters and police officers who led the investigation. And Gene Deal had even more shocking revelations to add to Capricorn Clark's testimony. You were there when Capricorn testified against Puffy on Tuesday, right? How did that go from your point of view? When Capricorn testified, man, it was heartfelt. Not just because she was crying, but because of the pain that both Cassie and Capricorn went through. And because when you heard her testimony, you found out that she really didn't care for Cassie like that. Their friendship grew, you know? They had grown into a friendship where she cared more about Diddy because she even wrote him letters saying she had a crush on him back in the day. So, it was kind of weird hearing all the stuff she was going through. And in my mind, I was thinking that, knowing who Diddy was, he probably slept with her too. That's what I was thinking. I don't know that to be true, you understand? But what people didn't understand in her testimony was that just like Dawn, he would fire her, then she'd come back, or she'd go get another job and then have to come back, something like that. People don't understand this, bro. And when you look at the situation with all the people that were employed by Diddy in the music world, it's this old proverb, the golden rule. And what's the golden rule? The man with all the gold makes all the rules. They think it's 5 times they set up in this old abandoned warehouse like she was terrified and scared and didn't want to go, but she had to go. And she put Paul Offord on blast. That's the one they used to call Uncle Paulie. She put him on blast like he was some gangster taking her up there. And if she was, she would have been found, you know. And all the polygraph came up inconclusive or unconclusive, whatever that is. It wasn't conclusive that she did anything regarding stealing any of the jewelry or something like that. So, it was just a fear tactic with her. The tension between Diddy and 50 Cent goes way back, almost 20 years. In 2006, 50 Cent dropped a diss track called The Bomb, accusing Diddy of knowing who was behind the murder of rapper Notorious B.I.G. Since then, many insiders have come forward saying the same thing. I said, "Yo, Big, somebody's gonna try to come tonight." Lil C was the one I hadn't seen all week. Lil C says, "Gene, go ahead with that cop." I said, "I know one thing. You better get you a GED." You know what that is? A good enough degree so they don't cheat you out of your money like they're doing to your man right here. I was talking about Big because I had read his whole contract on the plane. Puff had given me the briefcase, just handed it to me and went to first class while I went to coach, sitting by the emergency exit. I opened it up and started reading. At the end of the contract, Big was begging for what he was asking for, his publishing and marketing back. But Puff's contract said they'd revisit that at a later date. So I'm sitting there with 6 hours on this plane, going through whatever was in that briefcase. Then someone told me that someone told Puff, Pac got to die, Big got to die, and somebody wasn't going to jail. These people were playing 25 years in advance. Imagine if Pac and Big were still alive today. Come on, brother. You and I both know how strong they would have been. Since then, 50 has roasted Diddy online nonstop, especially after Diddy's ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, filed a shocking lawsuit accusing him of abuse and disturbing sex parties. Now, 50 is working on a Netflix documentary about the sexual allegations against Diddy. Meanwhile, in court, things got tense. One of Diddy's former assistants testifying under the name Mia told jurors she was sexually assaulted by him during the 8 years she worked for him, from 2009 to 2017. Another former assistant, Tashawn, gave emotional testimony today in Combs' racketeering trial. She claimed Combs sexually assaulted her multiple times. ABC's Rita Roy has the details. Celebrity stylist and friend of Cassie Ventura, Deontay Nash, walked into a Manhattan courthouse today, facing more cross-examination from the defense team of Sean Diddy Combs. Nash, who was subpoenaed to testify, detailed multiple instances of alleged violence and control he says he witnessed in Ventura and Combs' relationship. He testified he often saw Ventura bruised up and that he once witnessed Combs assault Ventura. He told jurors Ventura confided in him how Combs pressured her into unwanted encounters with male professionals and that he knew her to spend nights with Combs in hotel rooms against her will, including one time on her 29th birthday when Combs allegedly told her, "I do all this for you and you can't do this one thing for me," apparently referring to her not wanting to participate in a freak-off. Nash said another time Combs threatened to release sex tapes of Ventura, telling the jury that Ventura said she didn't want to have sex with those guys in the tapes, but she did it because, quote, Puff wanted her to. The defense questioned Nash's recollection about certain incidents, including that alleged bloody, and when Nash testified that Combs controlled everything about Ventura's appearance, defense attorneys suggested it was a business decision rather than an element of coercion. Combs' team has conceded that he was abusive, but that the violence was due to drugs and jealousy, and not about him forcing her into sex. A former assistant of Combs taking the stand under the pseudonym Mia told jurors about the times Combs allegedly forced himself onto her sexually. She says working with him was exciting but chaotic and toxic, talking about multiple instances of alleged violence. Now Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges against him, and has maintained that all sexual encounters were consensual. Diddy's lawyer, Brian Steele, grilled her on the stand, reading out old texts and social media posts where she seemed affectionate toward him. The prosecutor, Maureen Comey, called the questioning humiliating and said it might scare other victims from coming forward. "I didn't know that Diddy actually is being charged with tampering with some of these witnesses and victims before his trial started underneath the RICO charge. And the crazy thing is, what if I tell you that this same past behavior was alleged in Diddy's last criminal trial in the 1999 nightclub incident with J-Lo? They were alleging back in 1999 during that nightclub incident that Diddy was using his entourage to help mess with these witnesses. The one being named was Diddy's bodyguard, Uncle Paul Lee, who we keep hearing brought up in the current trial as a co-conspirator, for a lot of different things that Diddy allegedly has done, and y'all know I'm about to break it all down. So, let's get into it. This is the indictment for Diddy's current criminal charge, and as you can see under here, it says that he is being charged with multiple acts of tampering with a witness, victim, or an informant. This is separate from the charge of bribery of a witness that we can assume is when Diddy allegedly paid the hotel security $100,000 to make the video of him beating Cassie disappear. And this is another part in the indictment where it starts, dealing some of the intimidation or bribery of a witness when Diddy's authority or reputation was threatened by the possibility of negative publicity or legal or law enforcement action against him, including in or about late 2023, following public allegations of Combs' crimes. Combs and members and associates of the enterprise pressured witnesses and victims, including through attempted bribery, to stay silent and not report what they experienced or knew to law enforcement. On phone calls, Combs and other members and associates of the enterprise, among other things, provided these victims and witnesses with false narratives of events in effort to conceal Combs' crimes. Combs caused these calls to be recorded on at least 2 occasions. Do you think this new development will lead anywhere? Let us know in the comments.